If you watched sneak peeks of AUT, you can notice a lot of comments talking about balance. AUT was hyped when it wasn't released and people jumped to the conclusion that AUT will be a balanced game. But is AUT balanced? The answer I give is not factual and it is an opinion. But first, what makes a balanced game is a concept that makes a lot of people confused. Does balancing mean that every single aspect in the game has to be equal in power? That is near impossible for games like AUT. In that concept, only games like rock, paper, scissors or chess are balanced, because in rock, paper, scissors, everyone has 3 options to pick: rock, paper, and scissors, and each option has its own values per se. For instance, rock beats paper but loses to paper. Paper beats rock but loses to scissor. Scissors win against paper but loses to rock. This is a perfect balance that relies on equal odds. Same thing with chess. Although some pieces in chess have more power and value than others, such as pawn compared to the queen, both opposing sides all start out with the same pieces with the same amount, basically the same starting point, and this makes chess another balanced game that relies on strategy. These are primary examples of symmetric games, and there is no way AUT is a symmetric game. In fact, AUC is asymmetric, which is basically the opposite of a symmetric game. For example, not everyone in AUT has the same ability, and people will fight in the game with different matchups, such as Jojo versus Tusk or the World versus Dark Platinum. Basically, this means that people of AUT will have different starting points in a fight. This doesn't mean asymmetric games can't be balanced, but of course, it won't be as balanced as symmetric games. Asymmetric games are balanced by something called trade-offs. So basically, like a stand in AUT has a special power like time stopping per se, but has a disadvantage to counteract that. Or a better example is maybe stands that have higher health but lower damage, or stands that have lower health but higher damage. That is probably the most common way of how developers balance asymmetric games. However, you don't see that a lot in AUT. A prime example of this is the World Over Heaven versus Standless. The World Over Heaven has 475 health, while Standless has 385. The World Over Heaven does more damage on average than Standless. Standless does have redeeming qualities, such as having a mode that regens your health along with a damage buff. The counteract to this mode is that your health will be getting drained. The World Over Heaven, however, has time stop, and there are no real downsides to it other than maybe being able to cancel it by hitting them. But that is very easily overcome by simply taking distance, and time stop leads to an extraordinary amount of damage being taken. Not to mention the fact that the World Over Heaven also has a heal despite its large health pool. There are no real downsides to the World Over Heaven because it is simply good at everything. The World Over Heaven is certainly not the only unbalanced stance, but it is a prime example of the flaw in balancing. But this does not mean AUT is not a fun game. You don't see people playing rock, paper, scissors for hours and hours, but you do see people playing AUT for a long duration. Although rock, paper, scissors is a way more balanced game, AUT is undoubtedly so much more entertaining. So the final answer is no, AUT is not a balanced game. I'm pretty sure the balancing is intended to be this way, to actually create a reason to get rare stands like the World Over Heaven. And the balancing isn't that bad to the point where common stands can't fight back to the rare stands and are overwhelmed. Of course, it is your decision to enjoy or dislike a game, and also I'd like to state that achieving perfect balance in asymmetric games like AUT is very difficult, and game designers tend to focus on the mathematical parts of the balancing, which leads to a less entertaining game. What do you guys think about AUT's balance? What could they do to improve the balance of the game? Let me know in the comments, and of course subscribe for more.